Welcome back to the Radium Records channel. I'm Bradley Denniston, and in this week's Radium POW plugin of the week, we're talking about Orange Clip 3. That's right, tres. We're going into tres. I don't know how to say 3 in any other language besides Spanish and English, so 3 or tres, right? And this update is free for you if you have Orange Clip already. If you're on 1 or 2, you could just get 3. You could just download it, which is awesome, right? Was there a 2? I don't know if there was a 2, but we're on 3 now, okay? We got parallel processing, we got the variable knee, and we got that juicy, fruity sound, huh? But the best thing about this new plugin is the multiband function, which helps you get kind of really scalpel precise, or you can really just dial this thing in and manipulate and mangle stuff. And we're gonna do all that in this video. So if you guys like it, you can say something nice in the comments. And if you don't like it, you can say something mean in the comments, because the internet's awesome that way. All right, let's dive in. Welcome to Orange Clip 3. Here's the interface. It is beautiful. Here is the multi-band stuff, which is going to be really awesome. I'm going to talk about that in this video in detail and show you exactly how to use it. We have the wet dry, which is the parallel here. We have this chain, which connects and links the input to the output gain. So if I start to clip, you can see that this peak goes down on the output, right? So if I push into the clipper, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down and up. It's like a seesaw. You guys remember that on the playground? Some of y'all never got to do that, you know, because you're still kids and you're like, damn, we never got a seesaw. Yeah, we almost broke our necks on seesaws, man. All right, so let's clip these drums and I'll give you a preview of my new song, Lonely Road. It can't sound bad to me. That's what I love about this plugin so far, is I can clip the crap out of these drums and they still sound good to me. They don't sound all like, they don't break apart, which I love. But let's talk about the settings here, okay? So first of all, here is your one band kind of setting, right? You have the orange. This is where you're going to get that curve that changes. And as we turn this up, we get a harder knee. So it hits that threshold and it clips it right off like a hard clip. As you turn it down, you get more of a soft clip saturation, okay? So you can just hover over any of these and they're gonna tell you exactly what it is. And I just really don't want to read the manual on this plugin of the week. It's just not my style. So if you wanna read the manual, you can download it and you can read the manual. I encourage you to. All right, so then we also have oversampling, which is really nice. It's just built in. You have off, high, pristine, and extra pristine. And this coincides with Gold Clip as well. So if you look at the high, pristine, extra pristine, they're 4 times, 8 times, and 16 times oversampling. And then you have offline. So you can do offline at the same. So you can kind of change these if you want. So as you're producing, you can leave it off. And on offline, you could say, hey, I want extra pristine 16 time oversampling so I can avoid aliasing in any sort of distortion artifacts, right? 8 times I think is plenty. Anything over that, you're just kind of wasting CPU, in my opinion. All right, so that's really kind of the solo band. And we have the link function again for the input and output. I usually will link this and I'll clip and then I will unlink and I will make up my gain. So because a lot of the times the drums will get too quiet and I'm like, I lost my gain and my drums. So I'm gonna turn them back up in the mix, right? So I like to do that. You could set the ceiling so it clips before 0. So you can like go like negative 1.3. I like to do like -1. It gives me more headroom when I go to the master bus. So I have that extra dB that I can hit my limiter with and give myself some gain, right? So that's kind of a trick with clipping to me, is setting a ceiling rather than putting this at 0, clipping into it and clipping off at 0. And then your drum mix bus, right, goes to a master bus that it's hitting 0, right? It's hitting 0. So you don't have any headroom on those drums. So if you can do this, you can clip a little bit off the tops and you could say, let's give myself -1.5 dB. Now it goes to the master bus. We have 1.5 dB of headroom before we're at 0 on the master bus, which is really nice because then we can hit that limiter and give ourselves that extra push. And you could do this by really balancing out the RMS versus peak and getting your crest factor, that's what the definition is. The RMS, the peak, right? What's that difference? That's the crest factor, right? So if we're at -1.5, we give ourselves a crest factor of 1.5 dB. So now we have 1.5 dB to play with our limiting and our clipping with gold clip, let's say, or orange clip on the master bus. So that's pretty fun. And that's something, just a little tip, piece of advice for you guys. And if you like that piece of advice, hit the like button on the YouTube video. Orange clip 3, baby. We got a couple of presets here, Ryan Schwabe, basic orange and mixed orange. So mixed orange, obviously, I'm assuming is parallel, right? And this is where we can talk about the parallel function. You can blend wet and dry, which makes this really subtle rather than going 100% wet and being like, oh, that's like crazy and out of control, right? And then I do love the fact that you have this A/B as well. So the A/B, you can set something and then you can check it on B, right? So here's A. Let's do something here. All right, let's clip here. Let's go like that, you know, like let's take the ceiling up a little bit. And then let's go to B. And then we could set this a little different and we'll clip that up like that. We'll shave off like around 1.5 and then we'll go 100% wet. Now we can compare these two, right? Now you have A and B. So that's kind of fun. Little switcheroo. Bypass, that is an actual bypass button. So just click the on or off. I always click this just because I have a bad habit of doing it in Logic. But that's kind of like the overview of just the solo band. You have all these functions. You have the clip, you have the knee here, right? So hard clipping all the way up. And then you go into more soft saturation stuff. You have the link function, links the input to the output. So clipping the input and then making up the gain on the output, right? So you can link or unlink that however you like. And then you have the wet dry blend knob or sliders, I guess. And then you have the oversampling. And then you have, these are new filters that Ryan has been talking my ear off about. Like, he's so proud of these filters because apparently they're really low on CPU and resources, but they're like some of the best that he's ever designed. So something to think about, right? This guy's a crazy scientist. He's a fucking freak. So here we go. You got linear phase and you have minimum phase. Now, the best way to think about which one to use while you're working, right, is linear phase is going to be the best for when you're blending wet and dry. You're doing more subtle stuff with like the mid-range, the high end, etc., right? And then I would go to minimum phase if you're going 100% wet, right? And you're clipping hard on some like 808 or sub bass frequency stuff, right? So that is going to be kind of how I would think about that. And I won't get into the science of that, but again, you can read the manual and understand the minimum versus the linear phase a little bit better. But linear phase for anything you're blending, and mid-range, high end, I mean, really for all frequencies, but I think like mid-range to high end on linear phase. And then for minimum phase, I think low end information, 100% wet. I'm clipping, I'm distorting, I'm trying to take a bass sub and just like clip it out and waveform it so it's just really in your face and stuck. It's not going anywhere. It's not dynamic. So I'm going to leave it on linear. We're going to go back and like take this a little wet and let's listen to these drums and just kind of mess around with this to hear it. It sounds so good. It's like this like fat, thick, harmonically rich, beautiful thing that's happening in the low end. That kick drum just feels so good. And as you notice, what I did here to make that happen was I use this in linear phase, right? And I clip the crap out of it. So when it's wet, it sounds distorted. It sounds like too much, right? And then I blend it back. So I have just 45% wet, you know? So this is like going to give you that kind of parallel sound, which is really dope, really a thickening agent. I think better than parallel compression on drums. It's so good and it's so musical. Now, let's get into the multiband because this is what everybody wants to know about. I mean, I wanted to know about it. I freaking love this thing. It's absolutely insane what all the thought that went into this is just crazy to me. So instead of, this is the best way I think about it, is instead of when you have the multiband off, you have just this solo band and this solo, you know, clip, knee kind of thing, right? Like, oh, here's hard, 100% orange. If I go to multiband, I get that for each band, which is super dope. And you can kind of see like, here, I'll kind of move this out of the way and then we'll talk about what this is as well. But you could see the bands, and I'll split these up a little bit so you could see what's going on with the curves. See that? So the bottom band here is your low end. So this is 125 and below. And here's the best part is you can go to the crossover point and change it, which is amazing to me. This is what I think is the coolest part of this feature is I can go all the way up to 1K on the low band or all the way down to 50 Hertz on the low band. And then I can shape that curve. So now I got a hard curve on the low band, right? And I'm going to take this up to like 220 or so, right? So I'm getting a little bit of that cool of the snare as well, and the punch of the kick. And then you got the mid-range here, the mid-band, which is right here. And you can do the same thing, but let's go like more soft saturation on that. And we will take this crossover point to, I say like around like 5K or so is good. So we'll get a little bit of that high end of the snare, but really like most of the high end top stuff is going to be at the top band here. So this is where I can say, okay, I want this the softest. I just want this like real subtle, kind of soft saturating the top of the spectrum, the high end stuff, right? So I'm going to turn that all the way down. So you have like this soft, kind of a medium knee, and then hard knee on the bottom. That's dope, right? So we can do these all differently. And then we can even solo these out so we can really hear them. So let's solo out the low end, low frequency band, and let's shape it. All right, so we got the low end just giving us a little bit of crunch, which will help that kick translate into smaller speakers, right? So we're gonna get that harmonic. Now let's solo the mid band and let's start to tweak this. Right, this sounded really cool, but I'll show you what I'm going to do at the end, because this is kind of like how I start to shape this with the multi-bands, so then I can do some parallel stuff at the end. All right, now let's get the high band. Like, listen to what it does on the high band. It's insane. Softens out all that harshness and just like makes it almost like a tape saturation, where you can use this as an EQ, where your drums, if they're like really, you know, killing your ears, you can just kind of subtly shape it out, right? So now let's unsolo the bands and let's get this into parallel. We can do a wet, dry parallel with the multi-bands. All right, unsolo and let's hear it. All right, one thing I left out that I forgot to mention is you have a post gain at the top here. So now I can post gain from anything that I think needs to be balanced up or down, right? So you have the low, the mid, and the high post gain. And if I want to just really make these dirty analog tape driven kind of sounds, I could just take this top down a little bit, right? This is the post gain on this. And then I can take the mids up a little bit, and the low end, maybe I'll just bump that up a little bit. Or maybe you want to do smiley face curve. You can bring the high up a little bit and you can bring the mids down a little bit, right? So I'm just going to kind of shape this a little bit more. That's so good. It's so fun too. Like, just what a good sound. It sounds so musical to me. All right, let's pop it in the mix.
On the rougher side of town, had to earn her way around, with no one to turn to. Ain't no luck, just pavement covered ground, where the birds don't make a sound, and the sun don't break through.
Amazing! I love it! Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you for making cool tools for us music producers, us artists, us engineers. Thank you. Like, this is awesome. What do you guys think? What do you think? And do you have any questions? Drop them in the comments. I'm just like blown away at how awesome this update is for absolutely free. Click the link in the description, grab it now for free $99. If you already have Orange Clip, it's free. It's a free update. If you don't have Orange Clip right now, get it. It's worth it. It's an amazing tool, especially if you like make a bunch of beats and you want to shape stuff. Like, it's musical, it can be really subtle, or it can be completely boisterous and insane. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Show some love if you got something out of the video, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'm just going to continue to bring you guys game. Vocal mixing, production, mixing and mastering, music business stuff. We got a new podcast, the Music Matters podcast. Seriously, just trying to help you guys out. That's all I'm doing. All right. Click that link. Get that Orange Clip 3. Peace, guys.